All right, so today we're going to talk about analyzing functions. So we're going to talk about a bunch of words, and then we're going to take graphs and we're going to say, we're going to use these words to kind of make some statements about the graph. So these words you've probably never heard before, but increasing and decreasing when it comes to a graph. So increasing is basically like, when is the graph going uphill or having a positive slope? Decreasing is when is the graph going downhill and having a negative slope. So then a constant function would be just when it is straight across. You've probably heard of that one before. Maximum and minimums, you have talked about those with parabolas, but we are looking at local max and local minimums. So a local maximum is basically where it goes from increasing to decreasing, and there's kind of a mountaintop. A local minimum is when we go from decreasing to increasing and we kind of have a valley. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at these graphs and we are going to kind of identify the intervals on which these things happen. So let's pretend that these have arrows on them just to help us out. Let's start with domain and range. Domain, this is going forever to the left. If you look there, it's going left forever and it's going right forever. So the domain is from negative infinity to infinity. The range, let's see, the lowest y value is 1, 2, 3 is negative 4. And then it's going up forever, so the highest y value is going to be infinity. And then we're going to have a bracket around negative 4 because there's actually a point there, and we always have a parentheses around infinity. All right, so increasing. I'm going to take my highlighter, and we're going to highlight the parts of the graph where we are rising from left to right. So we are rising here, and I think that's it, right? So when are we increasing? So let me turn this to that. Okay, so we're increasing, and we always talk about the x values here, right? So let's see, we're increasing. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is from negative 5 to negative 3. Okay, and we're writing it in interval notation. And we're always going to use parentheses because we don't really know what's happening at the endpoints. We don't know if it's increasing or decreasing. It's not really doing anything. So now let's look at decreasing. So when are we going downhill? So let's see, we're going downhill here, 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 and then we're going downhill again all right here. And again, we're looking at the x intervals. So it's decreasing. Let's see, it's decreasing this whole time until we hit negative 5. So what we're going to say is from negative infinity until negative 5, it is decreasing. But then again, that's a bad U. Don't draw your U's like that. But then it's doing it again from negative 3 until positive 2. Right? And remember, we're just talking about the x values. These are not points. And then it's constant from positive 2 until infinity again. So remember, we're talking about x values for increasing, decreasing, constant. And then for the domain, we're talking about x values. And for the range, we're talking about y values. Okay? The last thing this asks us to do is to identify any local minimum or maximum. So let's look at our graph. There's a local min right here. And what we're going to say is we're going to say there's a local minimum. And it's kind of confusing. So what you're going to say is you're going to say the local minimum value is, and you're going to tell me the y value. So it's 2, is 2 at x equals negative 5. So you kind of have to tell me two pieces of information. You have to tell me the y value, and you have to tell me the x value that it's located at. There's also a local max. Right here. So let's see, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at x equals negative 3. All right, so all we're doing when we're looking at these graphs is identifying the intervals at which all of this is true and making sure we get the domain and range. So let's try another example. All right, let's do domain and range first. Okay, so the domain is going to be from negative 3 until 3. We're going to have brackets. And the range is going to be from 0 until 3. And the way I'm getting that is I'm saying, okay, my x value, negative 3 to 3. Okay, and then I'm saying, hey, my y value is going to go from 0 until 3. So that's where I'm getting my domain and my range. Let's talk about increasing. Well, increasing is this part. So we're going to say from -3, again, talking about x values from -3 until 0. And then it's decreasing from 0 until 3. Again, we're using parentheses because we don't know what's happening at the endpoints. And it's never constant. So usually we do something called this. This is called the empty set. You can just write none, never, whatever. There is only a local maximum. So we will say local max of 3 at x equals 0. So not too bad. All right, and then our final example. Let's talk about domain and range. So domain, the farthest left value is -2, but because it's an open circle right here, we're going to have a parentheses. And then look what happens here at 2. We don't skip 2 because 2 has a value. You see there's a close. So you actually don't really have to do anything there. So let's see. It actually goes, we're going to pretend this goes forever to the right. So from -2 to infinity. All right, now the range is going to be a little bit harder because notice it skips a chunk, right? This chunk isn't. There's nothing in between it. So my lowest y value is going to be 1, and it has a bracket because there's actually a point there, and it goes up until 3, right? That's this chunk. It skips then, and it just has the value of 4. So the way that we can write that is we can just say 4. It's not an interval, right? You could do 4 to 4, whatever you want, but this is usually how we're going to write it. All right, so now let's decide when it is increasing. It's increasing from here to here. So that looks like it's increasing from -1 to 1. Again, those are x values. It's decreasing, let's see, from -2 to -1, right? So right here. And then again from 1 to 2. And it is constant from 2 to infinity. Final part is we're talking about local maximums and minimums. So I'm going to erase all this stuff. There's a local min. There's a local max. So let's see, local min of, let's see, the y value is just going to be 1 there at x equals -1. And then there's going to be a local max of, let's see, I think that's a y value of 3 at x equals 1. And that's all we have for analyzing functions using increasing, decreasing,